Welcome to r/relationship advice. Here are 2 stories about troubled relationships. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Thank you. Let's get to it. Story number 1. I walked in on my son having sex with my brother's wife. Update after comments. I, 44 female, walked in on my son, 18 male, having sex with my sister-in-law, 34 female, brother's wife, in a cabin, and I think they have been having sex for a while. My brother, 37 male, moved in with us in February with his wife and 2 children. My husband, 44 male, and I have a big house on a farm. My husband is a farmer, and with everyone working from home we thought it would be a good chance to stay together as family and for my nieces to spend time on the farm. I have 3 children and all of them live with us. The oldest is 18 male and the other 2 are 16 female and 13 female. On the day my brother arrived I went to buy groceries with my son, and he went to the pharmacy to get his gym supplements, and I bought the food. I saw condoms in my son's plastic bag. When we arrived at the house, 2 packs with 36 condoms each, so 72 in total. Didn't think anything of it, thought he had gotten a girlfriend and wanted to be safe. Everything was fine. Everyone got along. My sister-in-law and son would go on an early run around the farm. Everything seemed normal until last month, when they left on their run. But I was up baking, and I never saw them make any rounds around the farm, which was weird. I asked about it, and they said they decided to hit the road. I thought nothing of this, everything seemed normal. My sister-in-law and son seemed to have a very good bond. Yesterday, I was coming from a friend's house early in the morning. The sun wasn't up yet, and it was little dark, but I saw that the cabin we have in the farm was open, and the light was on. I thought maybe one of the employees had forgotten to lock up. So, I went to close the door and switch off the light. As I got closer I heard people having sex, and I took a peek, and it was my son and sister-in-law having sex. I didn't confront them. I was so in shock. I still haven't told anyone what I saw, and I don't know what to do. Should I confront them? Should I tell my brother? Should I tell my husband? I'm so confused. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I'm sure they have been having sex for a while. From the condoms, my son was always at the house, never brought a girlfriend. The morning runs around the farm. Do they really go on a run, or do they have sex? And the close relationship. Here's the first comment. I grew up on a farm, and I'm just going to give you the advice no one here has yet. Hide the guns. Lock them up in a safe, if you have one, and put the key in a new place. No matter how you handle this, it's going to be bad. Here's the next comment. Yikes. Pleasant Pastures is about to implode. Unfortunately. Tell your husband immediately. The 2 of you can decide how to handle the situation in general, and more specifically, how to handle this with your son. You have to tell your brother. You're the one that saw what was happening. Do not talk to your sister-in-law. She will likely be dishonest. Let your brother decide how he wants to handle her. Here's the next comment. First, tell your husband, so you'll have some support and backup. Next, you need to ascertain the nature of this relationship. She's 34. He's 18. She's also a close family member. There is a distinct possibility that she's been grooming him for years, since he was a child. If that's the case, he's going to need therapy to overcome it, and she belongs in jail. Once you've determined this, tell your brother. What you tell him of course is important. There's a difference between telling him that his wife is having a mutual affair with his nephew and telling him his wife is a sexual predator who groomed the kid into becoming her sexual partner. You'll have to eventually fess up to your brother, and what happens next will depend on the situation. If this is a consensual affair, then family reunions aren't likely to happen soon. If this is a result of grooming, then at least there's a chance of your brother and nephew salvaging their relationship. The only sure thing is that your brother and sister-in-law are almost certainly done. Here's the next comment. I'm surprised at people's advice to go to your brother first. Talk to your husband first, then your son with your husband, then your brother. Your husband deserves to know what's happening with his son, and you need to protect your kid before your brother's feelings. Your son is way younger than she is and is the least to blame. She could be a predator at worst and completely devoid of character and judgment at best. Here's the next comment. Please talk to your husband and decide what to do together. Also consider your son's age. How recently did he turn 18? Could he have been manipulated/groomed? The age difference constitutes a power imbalance, and in my opinion it's weird for your sister-in-law to find her nephew sexually attractive, even if there is no blood relation. You will eventually have to tell your brother. He absolutely deserves to know about this. Good luck, OP. Edit. Try to find out how long this has been going on. If your son was still underage when this started, she has committed a very serious crime and has to be held accountable. Update. I first want to thank everyone for all the advice I got from my original post. I'm sorry for not replying to any comments. I think I only replied to one comment. My head was all over the place. I'll try to keep this update short. As was suggested by many of the comments, I decided to tell my husband first and proceed from there. My husband lost it. He first thought it was a joke. We talked about the issue and we decided we should first talk to our son before telling my brother. We confronted our son with what I saw. He already knew what was going on as he saw my Reddit post and put 2 and 2 together. He didn't deny anything, he confessed. He told us he and sister-in-law have been having sex since February last year. He was 17 at the time. My son said it started on sister-in-law's birthday party he attended. They got drunk and had sex in a bathroom, and they have been meeting at hotels ever since and sneaking off at family gatherings. After my son's confession, my husband just lost it and told my son to leave the house and go into our condo in town as he didn't want to see him in front of him at this moment. When my son was gone, my husband stormed into my brother's room and told my brother everything. Sister-in-law was not in the house at that moment. My brother lost it and packed his stuff, took the kids and left. He asked where my son had gone. He said he wanted to teach him a lesson. We didn't tell him and he eventually left. Sister-in-law didn't return. I think my brother might have called her or my son warned her and she is afraid to come back. Her things are still in the house. In all the screaming and shouting, my daughters heard everything and are devastated that their family might be ruined. They miss their brother and are afraid my husband won't ever let him in the house again. My husband hates all forms of infidelity to the core and has always drilled this in our 2 eldest children, that they must never cheat on anyone or be in a relationship with someone in a relationship. I know I did nothing wrong in this, but how will I ever look my brother in the eye again? He won't answer any calls or texts. My husband said I should give him time to heal. My son has left the condo because he is afraid of what my brother will do to him and is now hiding at a friend's, and he won't tell us which friend. No word on sister-in-law. Info. Sister-in-law was the one who initiated sex the first time my son and her slept together. She was the one booking hotel rooms, buying my son dinners and lunches. My son was even receiving an allowance from her. Story number 2. I, male 45, have been with my wife, female 43, for 20 years. She lost weight and treats me like she doesn't care. I'm disabled. I met my wife over 20 years ago and we married about 13 years ago. I admit that I'm a reformed a-hole, but still was an a-hole. I probably still am. Prior to meeting her, I was that a-hole that only dated 8s to 10s. But we met online and I fell in love with her personality. After months of talking, I knew that she was perfect. When we met for the first time, Yahoo chats for you old people, I was taken aback that her picture was not like what she was like in person. Her picture was nothing like what she looked like at all. She was easily 100 pounds more than her picture. But that didn't matter. She was pretty freaking awesome. I was recently out of a high school marriage and was just happy to be with someone who I enjoyed speaking with, someone who I enjoyed being around, and someone who was a great person. Through the years, we had children, and she ballooned up to almost 500 pounds. I never said anything about it. I loved her then, just as much as I love her now. She was a great person. Her weight was never a problem. I would make love to her because I love her. Her big booty was an absolute turn on. I'm not a chubby chaser, but I freaking love her, and her weight has never been an issue. Period. Big or small, her personality and her face were always number one. But in hindsight, she was huge. She couldn't get on rides at Disney, Universal, Kentucky Kingdom, etc. She was upset about it, but I tried to tell her that I loved her regardless of how she felt and how big she was. She topped at almost 500 pounds. Size wasn't and hasn't ever been a problem. A good person isn't a thing that can be quantified by weight. Personality isn't based on weight. I love her because she is a good person. I love her because she is beautiful. Then she lost a lot of weight, like hundreds of pounds. She's now under 200. And I still love her as much as the first day we met. She has folds that show she birthed our babies, now in their teens. Those marks show her dedication to being a mother and a wife. But to me, she's moved on. She doesn't show the same love to me anymore, and it freaking sucks. She's distant. I'm older now, obviously, in my 40s, and not freaking the same as I was in my 20s. How do I spark that back up? How do I tell her that I still have the same love for her as I did when she was 400 pounds? How do I tell her that she is just as sexy today at 200 as she was at 400? It was never about her size. It was always about her. Always about her face, her personality, her mothering, her love for life. She's often upset now, and I just want to make her happy. If she's not happy, then I'm not happy. I just want her to be happy. When she's happy, then my world is complete. Here's the first comment. For starters, being in your 40s is hardly old as frick. Stop that. Are you the same as you were when you were 20? No. And you shouldn't be. Such is life. Okay. With that out of the way, it seems you've always had communication issues, so that's something that needs to be combated regardless who is or isn't tipping the scales. But what I'm wondering, have you considered that your wife may be unhappy because she lost all that weight and life isn't any different? Kudos to her for the effort. Whatever the method, it didn't happen overnight, and I'm sure it was hard work. And this isn't losing 20 or 50 pounds. This is a life-altering change. Has she always been heavy? If so, she may have some, I don't know, idealization in her head that, if I can just lose all this weight, my life will be amazing. And sure, I'm sure it's made many things better. At the end of the day though, your world is still the world you've created for yourself, good or bad. And it's possible she is feeling almost let down because there hasn't been a vast shift. I don't know. I'm no professional. Just my 2 cents. Here's the next comment. Talk to her, or maybe write her a letter, and include what you are saying here. I don't think her losing weight might be the reason of her moving on. Maybe you read it wrongly. Honesty and communication is the key. Here's the next comment. I think the reason she lost the weight is the reason for her unhappiness now. Most people who lose that much weight do it to feel better about themselves. They expect their lives to drastically change and become more exciting. But more often than not their lives don't change. Then they become lost and unsure where to find happiness again. Life does this to people. Your job is to bring excitement into your lives again. Date your wife again. Renew your vows. Make her feel like all that work wasn't for nothing. You obviously still love your wife. Show her that, and I bet she will start showing affection back much easier. Here's the next comment. I lost a lot of weight a couple years ago and found myself more self-conscious in front of my husband about the flaps of skin than I did being fat in the first place. I don't know why. I wish I did, but that was just how my brain decided to work. It could be the same for your wife. Here's the next comment. I'm just sitting here thinking about how miffed I'd be in the wife's position. Here I am, 500 pounds. Can't play with my kids. Activities other people take for granted are a struggle and all my husband can think of is how hot my ass is. Then I put in all that effort into losing the weight and he's still on about how she is just as sexy today at 200 as she was at 400. Like, dude, not everything is about your wanker. We aren't talking about a few extra pounds. 400, 500 pounds comes with physical pain and discomfort. And it sounds like you didn't even care enough to notice any of it. I wonder how many times she tried talking to you only to be told that she's still bangable and lovable, therefore it's all good. Even now, when she's lost 2 whole people worth of weight, you don't think anything's different. She's still just as worthy of your love and wanker as she's always been. And nothing else matters. Thanks for listening.